Hi everyone, it's Christina from the DIYmommy.com, and today I want to show you how to install peel and stick tile backsplash. Today's video is going to be all about peel and stick tile. I absolutely love it and I've had success with it in a few applications. So first we used it in our camper 3 years ago, and since then it's held up perfectly through variations of minus 45 degrees Celsius to plus 30 degrees Celsius. We leave it outside and we have those temperature variations here in Alberta, Canada. I also did a peel and stick tile installation in my brother's condo. We did some smart tiles behind his stove. That's been a success. And just lately I did a peel and stick tile backsplash installation here in my studio kitchen. My goal is to totally revamp this area in my studio. I love it because we have this beautiful south light from this window and it's the perfect place to do DIY tutorials and film them for you guys. So I'm going to show you the backsplash today. I'm going to be doing this butcher block countertop and I'm going to be turning it into a faux marble countertop. Plus I'm going to do a new DIY Roman shade. Stay tuned for that. So let's get into this peel and stick tile backsplash installation. Here's how my studio kitchen looked before the backsplash installation. If you don't know the story of my work studio, I will leave a link to a video down in the description box below about how we used to live in this little garage house and how I renovated it into a studio a couple years ago. I just wanted more texture on this back wall, but wanted to keep it light and bright because I love the way that the white bounces things around the room when I'm taking photographs and video, and I didn't want any colors to distract from my videos. So the first thing you need to do when installing peel and stick tile is to make sure that the surface is incredibly clean. So use some sort of degreaser and clean the entire surface. Next, what I did here was removed the DIY Roman shade that I made here. I still like it, but I want to make something a little more colorful just to add that little pop of color in all the white here. So stay tuned for that tutorial. You can install peel and stick tile backsplash on a variety of different surfaces. I will leave a link in the description box below if you want to read my blog post about this. I have answers to several questions I get about peel and stick tile, and then you can save it and pin it for later. For this project, I'm using these peel and stick wall tiles that I found at Dollarama. That's the dollar store here in Canada. So each of these squares was $3.50 Canadian. They're about 10 by 10 inches. So usually I use smart tiles for my project. They're very good quality. They're more expensive than dollar store tiles, obviously, but I've had good success with those. However, I wanted to try something a little bit cheaper and see if they did the trick. So you can see that peel and stick tiles are essentially like a giant vinyl sticker, and then they have the texture of an actual ceramic tile. And I liked these subway tiles in just this warm white color with a gray looking grout. So you can cut these in a variety of different ways. They are incredibly easy to cut. So I like to use a hard ruler like the one I'm using here, and then a pencil where you can mark the tiles, and then I also just use regular scissors. You can use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter style knife, but I actually prefer to use scissors because I have a little more control. So I use my ruler to make the mark, I use a pencil because I can wipe that off, and then just my simple scissors to cut to size. So when you're starting the backsplash, you can start in a lower corner like I'm doing here on my studio kitchen backsplash, and then you can just apply that wall sticker right to the wall and smooth it down with your hand. Then you keep going in this manner. You only have to cut the corners, and then if you're cutting around a window, you can do that as well, and just make sure all the lines are lined up together. I prefer to use larger scale tiles like this one rather than mosaics because I find it a lot easier to line up all of the different lines. There's so many different peel and stick tiles on the market. Pretty much the options are endless. You can go with all sorts of different looks, and there's so many things available. I find with peel and stick tile, you can usually put it down once, and if you've accidentally put it in the wrong place, you can gently remove it and put it down again. I'm going to show you a few different ways you can measure your tile pieces. I'm going to show you 3 different ways, and the first one is to create a template. So I'm just using some brown paper for this one. This tile piece by the window is going to have some cuts in it, and then I put the brown paper near the window. I marked out the markings with my pencil. And then I'm using my ruler just to straighten out the markings, to join marks together and make sure all my lines are nice and straight. Then I'm using this brown paper piece as a pattern or a template to cut my tile. So I don't actually use this method often, but people like this method because it's usually quite accurate. So you lay down your template on top of your tile piece that you want to cut. In this case, mine is going around my window in my kitchen. And then you just trace around the template like you would a sewing pattern. So I like to use a pencil because I can rub it right off of the tiles. You could use a pen if you want, but you're going to have to make sure that you cut away any of the pen markings so they don't show up on your backsplash. After everything is marked, you can use plain scissors or a craft knife to cut the tile to size, and then rub away the pencil marks, and you're ready to apply the tile into the spot. Don't worry if there's little tiny holes between like trim work and tiles, because I like to use caulking to fill those up. So again, I usually find that I can reposition my tile 1 time. 2 times is a little bit much. Sometimes that takes away the stickiness of the backing, especially if you're using cheaper tiles like I am from the dollar store. But don't worry if you mistakenly put it in the wrong place the first time. You can always remove it and press it down firmly the second time. I find the trick is not to press it down firmly right away. Make sure it's in the right position before you smooth it to the wall with your hand. Here's the second way to measure the tile. So you can use a tape measure and then measure the distance that way, and then use a hard ruler and measure it on your tile just like this. So I make a couple markings with a pen and with the ruler, and then I join them together with a pencil. I probably use this method the most, just using my tape measure, measuring how big I need to make the tile, and then cutting it to size. And you can do a dry check, so before you peel the backing off of the tile, you can check to make sure it's the right size, and then peel off the backing and apply it to your wall and press it firmly into place. There are tools that kind of smooth your tiles to the wall. I find that just using my hands and a nice firm press seems to adhere them well enough to the wall. So lots of people ask me if you can apply peel and stick tiles over old tiles. I believe you can, as long as the old tiles are rather smooth. They can't be too textured because you're going to see that texture beneath the peel and stick tiles, and of course they have to be really clean and degreased. I've also applied these over electric stoves. However, I've never applied them over gas stoves. I would be worried about the extreme heat coming off of a gas stove, so I probably wouldn't apply them there. I also wouldn't apply these in a shower. There's so much moisture there that I would be concerned that that would kind of hinder the sticky backing on them or make them stick less and less over time. I have, however, installed these in our camper bathroom just over the sink because we really don't use that sink that much, so I didn't think the moisture would be an issue there. Here's the third method for measuring tiles when you're trying to cut around a cupboard or a window. You can just kind of situate the tile beneath where you have to cut, make markings that way with a pencil or even with a little slit with your scissors, and then join those lines together with the hard ruler and a pencil. This works pretty well as well. I would just suggest when you're cutting, be a little bit generous with your cuts, leave a tiny bit of excess just in case you didn't mark your markings exactly correctly, because you can always trim extra off later. If you make the cuts too big, you can't go back and change it. You'll have to use a whole new tile. Also, be wise when you're making your cuts. You can often use the top of one tile sheet and then the bottom when you flip it. When you're doing little sections, when you have to cut tiny pieces under a cupboard or near a ceiling, try to use your material in a smart way so that you're not buying too much extra. When you order your tiles though, you are going to have to buy a little bit of extra square footage because you do need extra for all the little bits and pieces you're going to cut off around windows, around cupboards, etc. So again, I'll leave my recommendations and frequently asked questions with all the answers in a blog post on the DIYmommy.com. I will link to that in the description box below. So this whole project only took me about 2 hours, and it is so easy. I certainly recommend this DIY to pretty much anyone. If you can put stickers on a piece of paper, you can put peel and stick tile on a wall. It's really all in the prep work. Make sure that you clean your space well. It's also in the material that you purchase and where you put it. So it's really a fantastic way to update a kitchen on a budget. So the final step that I do once all of the tiles are in place is caulk all of those seams. So basically where the tile meets cupboards or where it meets counter. I just use a latex caulking, but if you're working near a sink or in a bathroom area, you might want to use a different sort of caulking for wet areas. So I actually ran out of material after all that. After telling you guys to make sure you buy extra material, I ran out of material to do the top of my kitchen, not because I knew I didn't have to get extra, but because the dollar store didn't have it. And then I found it last minute and was able to complete this whole project right from the counter to the ceiling, and I love that look. So again, here's how my studio kitchen looked before, and here's how it looks now. I love the texture that these tiles bring to my studio. I love that it still has that nice white bright look for all my photos and videos, and I can't wait to continue working on little things for the studio. You see I have to do the knobs there, refinish those. I'm gonna do a really cool new DIY Roman shade and then redo some of the countertops. Thanks guys so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Let me know down in those comments below if you've ever tried peel and stick tile. I would love to know. And also if you have any more questions on the product itself or installation questions. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more DIY and decor ideas on a budget. I'm gonna leave some more videos that I hope you will love right up here.